Shalom Aleichem, good morning. Welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime as well. I want to dedicate the shir for the Atzlach of Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family, for the Refuah Shalema of Yosef Chaim Ben Sar Yehudis, who is in a coma. In Mitzvah Hashem, we should have Refuah Shalema B'soch Sh'ar Choylei Yisrael, as well as the great Simcha of the engagement of my dear Chavrusa's son, Tehila, Louis, and the one who's responsible is sitting right here. And we should all say thank you to you, Mamid. Mitzvah Hashem should be a binyan adei ad. Mitzvah Hashem. Two announcemements. First of all, I mentioned that a few weeks in Mitzvah Hashem I'm going to speak in different communities in the States. So that will be the Shabbases of Va'era Boi B'Shalach. We won't have a shir. All the Shabbases are taken, but there's still a few days available if communities want in Chutz La'aretz a weekday shir. The other very happy announcement, Baruch Hashem Mabal Simcha, B'chazdei Hashem, Mida Keneged Mida, that we spoke about a few weeks ago, Chelek Hey, with 1,200 pages came out, Siyata Dishmaya. The first one came out about 17 or 18 years ago with only 700 pages, and I thought I covered the whole subject with 700 pages. A few years later came out Chelek Beis, and then another 700 pages, and I was sure, that's it, 1,400 pages on one topic, you know. Chelek Gimel comes out with another 700 pages, and then a few years later, Chelek Dalet with 1,200 pages. And now Chelek Hey with 1,200 pages, and I understand that I probably didn't even scratch the surface. Because if Chazal say in Sanedrin Daf Tzadi Amud Aleph, Kol midoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu mida keneged mida, it's not every so often, sometimes we see measure for measure. That is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu conducts his world. Measure for measure. So you just have to open your eyes and wear these special Mida Keneged Mida glasses, and everything turns into Mida Keneged Mida, and you see it. And Rishonim and Achronim, and everybody is always searching, what is the Mida Keneged Mida? And in fact, one has to search for it, because the Ben Yehoyada and Soita Daf Hey Amud Aleph says that one who always looks for the Mida Keneged Mida. Wait a second. Why did this happen over here? Why did this happen to me? And this specific situation, this specific day, why? When he always wants to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in that matter, he is the one who's going to be Zoiche ve'roye b'yishua, so he's going to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because he always looked for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he will be Zoiche to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Mitzvah Hashem Chelekei should be Leto'eles. All those who are interested, there are some in the back, and the whole set. Obviously one can purchase that as well.
Any parts in English?
Yes, there are parts in English, because the Megillas Esther, 2 volumes came out in English. In Hebrew and in English. The Haggadah Shel Pesach is in English. And in Mitzvah Hashem Bekorov will come out Haggadah Shel Pesach with Mida Keneged Mida Volume 2 in Hebrew and in English. And there's the Bencher, which is in Hebrew and in English, Bencher with Mida Keneged Mida interpretation. Now we can finally start the shir. Parashas Vayigash will be speaking about in Mitzvah Hashem, the missing link in our collective DNA. There's something missing. Who in the world had permission to rebuke Rebbe Akiva on an ongoing basis? Do you have to pay the shirt's value, and how much does your shirt really cost? Taking very dangerous long strides when you need to choose between shuls to support, which one should you choose? And the $1 million questions, how do we find love for Rebbeinu Shalom? How do we get Ahavas Hashem? Which I think is a question on everyone's mind. Maybe we'll have a few more things in between, but we'll start with the riddle. Yosef HaTzadik, did he have a daughter? Not everybody together? Did Yosef have a daughter? Yosef, he had a daughter. Her name?
I don't know her name, but all the children of...
You taught her in seminary? How do you know?
All the boys accompanied twin girls.
All the boys, the Shvatim, what happened to them?
They had a twin girl.
Maybe a sister.
You saw Perek Lamed Yud Zayin, a twin sister. Rashi says over there that every one of the tribes had a twin sister born with him. But you didn't look at the Gur Aryeh in that pasuk, the Maharal. The Gur Aryeh says yes, except Yosef. He has a whole big cheshbon why that is. And even if you want to say Yosef in fact had a twin sister, when we all go down to Mitzrayim, how many people were there? 70? You just told me there are another 12 twins. And with Binyamin, there are two sisters. Where are they? How come they're not counted?
That's a good question.
It's a good question. Rashi addresses this question. Rashi asks, wait a second. I just told you that there's a twin sister with every one of the tribes. How come they're not counted? And Rashi is forced to say, because of this question, they all died before they went down to Mitzrayim. You want to kill them because you have a question? You know, there's a famous rule in the yeshiva world. Mikushya lo meisim. You don't die from a question. You have a question? Keep going. Keep going. Keep learning. One day, in Hashem, you'll find the answer. And even if you don't, sometimes you have an amazing question. But so what? It doesn't stop everything. The Rambam also knew everything that you know, and maybe he had an answer, maybe he didn't, but he continued. You can also continue. From a question, you don't die. But here, because of this question, Rashi is killing the sisters. Very strange. Why was Rashi forced to kill them? Because he has a question. What's the question? If you're counting and you get to 70, and these girls are not there, obviously they died. But Rashi doesn't know this rule, that you don't die because of a question. He's killing people because of a question. So some say, jokingly, how did these girls, how were they born, Bichlal?
Underground?
Ki gam, al tiri ki gam ze lach ben. What's the word gam doing there? Grammatically, it's not needed. So I say, oh, gam. Oh, I have a question. What is this gam doing? Oh, gam to include. Gam comes to merabe, just like es. Esim and gamin is ribui. Gam comes to include that there was also a girl born with every one of the Shvatim, which means these girls were born out of a question, because you had a question. People who are born just because of a question, they also die because of a question. Jokingly. Back to our question. Lemaise, did he have a daughter or not? In our parasha, Rabbi say, Yehuda says to Yosef, as Rashi brings to the Medrash, are we asking for your daughter? What are you getting so excited? Obviously implying that Yosef has a daughter. Otherwise, it's very not nice to say this to Chazon Ish, who doesn't have any kids. Oh, am I asking for your son, for your daughter? He doesn't have any kids. So obviously Yosef had a daughter. If you can address him and say, am I asking for your daughter? So lichora, that's a proof that Yosef had a daughter.
Who did Ephraim and Manasseh marry?
What's that?
Who did Ephraim and Manasseh marry? Egyptians?
I don't know why I wasn't invited to the wedding. So I don't know.
We don't know.
Chazal don't tell us. You have to assume not. They were converted. Just like everybody else at that time. By the way, at that point there's no Jewish people. Bichlal. And whom did Yosef HaTzadik marry? Bepashtus. Who is she? The daughter of? As the, you know the Midrashim. You know Yonatan ben Uzziel. You know Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. What does the pasuk say? The daughter of? Not a problem. Yaakov Avinu, who did he marry? Converted them. Even though there's no Jewish people. He took them out of the belief in Avodah Zarah. Let's speak about Toichacha. Yosef with the ultimate Toichacha. Not, in your face, what did you do? Instead, Yomer Yosef Eleichav, and Yosef. It's also a Toichacha. It's also a very nice way of doing it. By the way, I'm Yosef. Now that you sold me! I'm Yosef. When you are struck with the emes in your face, is my father still alive? Because I don't know, because I'm stuck here for 22 years. Part of them is an Evid, because of you guys. But I'm not saying that. Just very, very surprising Gemara about Toichecha. The Gemara in Erchin Daf Tetzayin Amud Beis speaks about Toichecha. This Medrash also appears in Sifra, in Psikta Zutasa. And the Gemara says, Omar Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Zatana, made ani alai shomayim va'aretz, heaven and earth are my witnesses. Sheharbe pe'amim, many times, laka Akiva al yadi. Many times, Rabbi Akiva, he got it. I don't want to say lashes because that's the literal translation. That's not what it means. You know why? Sha'isi koivel alav, I used to go and complain about him. Lifnei Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. Rebbe, you see what Rabbi Akiva did today? So Rabbi Gamliel would give it to this young disciple, Rabbi Akiva. But don't worry, says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. But lekayem mashenemar, I wanted to fulfill the pasuk in Mishlei that says, Al tocheach letz pen yisnaeka. Don't rebuke a scoffer because he may hate you. Hocheach lechacham v'yaveka. If you rebuke a chacham, he's going to love you. Ve'osafti bo ahava. So Rabbi Akiva loved me even more. But this bears some questions. What's going on here?
4 questions. Rashi explains, when Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri saw Dvar Gnai, something which is totally unbecoming of a Talmid Chochem, he went to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and complained. What in the world did Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri see that Rabbi Akiva was doing, which is a Dvar Gnai? And what does it mean? Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, not once, not twice, harbe pe'amim, many times. Rabbi Akiva, don't you get it the first time around? They have to come back to you again and again and again and again? This is Rabbi Akiva. This sugi is about Torah in the Gemara. So instead of going to Rabbi Akiva and saying, Rebbe, not right what you're doing, it's Dvar Gnai. No. He leaves Rabbi Akiva and he goes behind his back to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. It's about Torah, not about Lashon Hara. What's going on here? I think it's the strangest Gemara. Hashkafa Rishoina, at first glance, I thought to say, maybe we're talking about a Dvar Gnai in the beginning stages of Rabbi Akiva. Because Rabbi Akiva came from a background, he didn't grow up in the Mir. And not in the Lakewood. It's a sort of a Baal Tshuva type of a thing. So maybe Midos, it's a Dvar Gnai. His Midos are not so polished. Raya Ladavar, what's the proof? A Gemara in Psochim Mem Tes Amud Beis. Rabbi Akiva used to say, when I was young, when I was an Am Haaretz, I used to say, give me a Talmid Chochem, and I'll bite him like a donkey. And the Talmidim say, Rebbe, why you say a donkey? Bite him like a dog. You mean a dog, right? And he says, no, a dog bites, but it doesn't break the bones. I used to want to bite the Talmid Chochem and break their bones like the donkey. So that's the Dvar Gnai. He came kind of rough, not, so refined. That's what I thought at first glance. And I saw a sefer saying this, called Akiva, by Meir Liman Zatzal. And I think, Chas v'sholom to say this. Chas v'sholom. How can you say this? You know why? Because the Gemara in Ksubis Samech Beis Amud Beis Samech Gimel, comparable sugya about Rachel, the daughter of Kalba Savua, it says over there that this Rachel saw Rabbi Akiva, who was the shepherd of her father, Kalba Savua. And why did you decide to marry him? If he is so rough, he's not a Talmid Chochem, and he's unrefined, why do you want to marry him? Says the Gemara, because she saw that he's Tsanua Umale. Because he was humble and he was refined. So he had good midos. You're asking, how can you say such a statement? Give me a Talmid Chochem, and I'll bite him like a donkey. So Tosfos already answered this. Tosfos says, as an Am Haaretz, he didn't understand what the Talmidei Chachamim were doing. He thought that the Talmidei Chachamim hate the ignoramuses that he was part of. He didn't hate Talmidei Chachamim. He thought they're arrogant. That's what he said. He thought they didn't want to touch him because, ignoramuses are disgusting. No, it's just because they didn't want to get Tuma. So it wasn't coming from a place of, he thought that Talmidei Chachamim were not conducting themselves in a certain way, the right way. So it's not a shayla that he wasn't refined. He had an agenda, he had a mahalach, why he was doing this. So I don't think you can say, because the whole reason she married him is because he's tsanua me'ale. And Tosfos adds, he was showing me mitzvahs. So he was tsanua, he was humble, he was ma'ale gewaldige midos, and he was showing me mitzvahs. Just not a Talmid Chochem yet. So what in the world, Dvar Gnai, something which is disgraceful for Talmid Chochem, did Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri see many, many times. And therefore he has to rebuke, not through Rabbi Akiva. He goes around to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and once and twice is not enough. And Rabbi Akiva is doing it again and again and again. What can it be? This bothered me for years. I think 7.5 years. Until one day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me this thought, and I think it works. Reb Chaim Kanievsky says, Yafeh. So I have us come from Reb Chaim. Before we explain, we have to go to Pirkei Avos. Chazal say, Kne lecha chaver. So I have to go to a friend shop and start acquiring friends. How does it work? Kne lecha chaver. Go spend money and buy yourself chaverim. What does that mean? The Rambam on that Mishnah explains, go find yourself a chaver that will rebuke you. It's not a yes man. Whatever you say, you're the greatest, you're so smart, you're so successful. A good chaver is the one who corrects your wrong midos, your wrong ways. Bartenua, similar, again in Pirkei Avos, when the Mishnah says, Ezu derech yeshara sheyidbok b'ha'adam, what's the right path that a person should walk on? And few opinions. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, chaver tov, a good friend. The Bartenua explains, a good chaver is the one who fixes you, who rebukes you, who tells you when you're doing something wrong. That's a good chaver. He actually cares about you. What's that? The Gaon of Vilna actually used to call every so often the Dubna Magid to rebuke him. You have great mashalim. You can awaken me to do some tshuva, Musar. Dubna Magid came to him and said, Rebbe, I should give Musar to you. Yes, that's a good chaver. Which means tzaddikim always want to excel. So you find yourself somebody, and you tell him ahead of time, if you see anything wrong that I'm doing, please tell me. Because my mission in life is one. I just want to grow. I want to ascend higher and higher on the ladder of Yira, of Ahava, of Musar, of Torah, Mitzvahs. I want to get close to Ribono Shel Olam. And I need some good chaverim to help me do that. Lichora, you can say the same thing about Rebbe Akiva. If it's good for the Gaon Mivil, Mistam it's also good for Rebbe Akiva. Rebbe Akiva came to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, he says, do me a favor. You're a good friend. Whenever you see me doing something wrong, let me know. You know what? I even give you permission to go to Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, to the Rebbe, because if the Rebbe tells me, for sure, I will change. Great. But what is that thing that Rebbe Akiva is doing again and again and again? Dvar Gnai. Rashi says Dvar Gnai. Rashi doesn't say a Dvar Isu. Rashi doesn't say bad midois. What is a Dvar Gnai? It's a Gemara that appears twice in Shas. Brachos Mem Gimel Amud Beis, Shabbos Kuf Yud Dalet Amud Aleph. The Gemara says, Gnaihu leTalmid Chochem. It's disgraceful for a Talmid Chochem to be wearing Min'alim HaMetulaim, patched shoes. Look at you, you look like a... it's not right. A Talmid Chochem, you represent the Torah. It could be. Rebbe Akiva, in the Dorim Dafnun we learned, was very, very poor. That's what he wears, and he doesn't care. For two reasons. First, he doesn't care about Gashmius. Who cares about my shoes? I just want to learn Torah. Second of all, I'm poor. Can't afford it. Third of all, I don't think I'm that Talmid Chochem that the Gemara discusses. He's so humble. That's what the Gemara says. He's tzanua. Who am I? Well, I know where I came from. Mimele, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri sees him walking out like that and says, Rebbe, the Gemara says, no good. It's a gnai for Talmid Chochem to be walking like this. And Rabbi Akiva says, they weren't talking about me. Are you kidding me? And therefore he did it again, and again, and again. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was forced to go to the Rebbe, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, and says, listen, it's a bizarre in the Torah. It's a bizarre Talmid Chochem. Go and tell Rabbi Akiva he's not allowed to, because to me he's not listening, because he is so humble. Mimele, he thinks this Gemara doesn't apply to him. Maybe in a different way. Shulchan Aruch Chaim, Simen Kuf Aleph, Seif Cotton, Seif Chaf. The Shulchan Aruch says, and the source is from the same Gemara in Brachos Mem Gimel Amud Beis. At Talmid Chochem, it's a gnai for him, it's disgraceful for him to sit in a seuda with ignoramuses. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri sees Rebbe Akiva sitting in a seuda with ignoramuses. The Gemara says no good. Rebbe Akiva says, I hold like the Biur Halacha. What Biur Halacha? It's only going to be written 1,500 years later. What do you mean? It's okay. I hold that you're allowed to. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says you're not allowed to. The Biur Halacha over there in Siman Kuf Ayin Aruch Chaim brings different opinions when this may be permitted. For example, in Seudas Reshus is the problem. Seudas Mitzvah, no problem. You're sitting in a Bris Milah, and some ignoramuses are sitting with you. According to the Biur Halacha, you're fine. There are opinions that permit it. Rebbe Akiva says to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, what do you want from me? I'm sitting in a Seudas Mitzvah, it's not a Seudas Reshus. More than that. For Chizuk and Kiruv purposes, of course you're allowed to. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, I don't think you're allowed to even for that purpose. Rebbe Akiva says, you don't understand. You know, I was a shepherd. I know these guys. I know how to speak to them. Adarabba, for me, it's cover the Torah. It's a mitzvah. It's a great mitzvah to be involved in Kiruv. I have to be sitting with them. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, I don't think so. Lemaise, what people see from the outside is a Talmid Chochem sitting with ignoramuses. It's disgraceful. Or Rabbi Akiva was sitting in his place, Kavua, in his regular table, and the Amei HaRatzos came to him. Says the Biur Halacha, in case like that, there are opinions that permit it. It's not that he went to Amei HaRatzos, they came to him. Or he was sitting with a group of Talmidei Chachamim, and in that case, if there are some ignoramuses as well, Biur Halacha says there are opinions that permit it. Maybe Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri have a machlokes in halacha. Therefore, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says it doesn't work with Rabbi Akiva. So he feels you're not allowed to. He goes to the Rebbe, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, and says, Rebbe, look, he's sitting with Amei HaRatzos. It's a Dvar Gnai. It's not an Isur. It's not Midos Raos. It's a machlokes in halacha. And that's why it keeps happening again and again and again, because Rabbi Akiva doesn't want to listen to him, because he says to him, what's the shaykhus? It's talking about Talmid Chochem, and I'm a Talmid Chochem. It doesn't even start. And even if it does, I don't hold that you're right. How great was Rabbi Akiva? 4 snippets. There's many more in Chazal. Mamish Moredik. Yerushalmi, in Rosh Hashanah, Perek Aleph, Aloch Aleph, the language of the Yerushalmi. Rabbi Akiva, Nimne ben Avois Ha'olam. He is considered one of the Avois. Sifri, in Dvorim Memches, if it wasn't for Rabbi Akiva, Torah would be forgotten from Klal Yisrael. Menachos Chavtes Amud Beis, Moshe Rabbeinu turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, you have a person like this and you choose to give Torah through me? Why not through Rabbi Akiva? Because he's greater. Bamid Baraba, Parasha Yutes Oisvav, the Medrash says, things that were revealed to Rabbi Akiva were not revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu. So Yochanan ben Nuri knew the truth. Rabbi Akiva is the greatest person. All the Torah that we have today is from Rabbi Akiva, because after all his Talmidim passed away, he passed on to his 5 Talmidim, Yevam Samech Beis, and that's everything we have. The Mishnah, the Tosefta, the Sifri, everything that we have in Torah Shabbat Pei is from Rabbi Akiva. Mimele Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri knows how great Rabbi Akiva is, and therefore he says to him, Rebbe, you can't do this, it's a Dvar Gnai. That's why he keeps going back to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, and Rabbi Akiva refuses to accept because he says, who am I? Who am I? V'aish Moshe Anav Mikol Ha'adam, Rabbi Akiva is walking in his path. More than that, we found in Brachos Mem Gimel Beis another example of a Dvar Gnai. It's a Dvar Gnai, disgraceful for Talmid Chochem, to walk out alone at night. Unless he has a Shul Kavua. People may suspect him. At night, you go, there's no electricity outside. Oh, where are you going? Oh, it doesn't look good, doesn't smell good. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri sees Rabbi Akiva stepping out of his house again and again. He says, Rebbe, you're not allowed to. He says, what are you talking about? This is about Talmid Chochem, not about me. And he also doesn't have it. He has Shul Kavua. Mimele, he goes to the Rebbe, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, to complain about it. And this way, L'choira, it solves all our questions. How come again and again and again? Because Rabbi Akiva holds it doesn't apply. That's why it's a Dvar Gnai, it's not Dvar Isu. That's why he goes to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, because to talk to Rabbi Akiva, it just doesn't work.
We don't say that if you say that Chacham doing something that doesn't look correct, we have to not have zehut and to find excuses why.
You're sending us to a Gemara in Brachos Yutes. And the Gemara says after the fact. If you see a Talmid Chochem that you see in your eyes, something that you think he did an Aveira last night, you have to judge him favorably. But don't give people reasons to suspect you. It's the before and after. Moving on. Perek Mem Hei Pasuk Chav Beis. Yosef gives 5 new suits to Binyamin. Everybody else, he gives only 1. And he also gives him some cash. How much? 300. Shloshmos kesef. Where'd you get that from? Why are you giving Binyamin 300 and why Dafka Binyamin and no one else? Rabbi say, the Ostov Rebbe, the sweetest thing for Shabbos. Gewaldik. When the Pasuk says Reuven came back to the pit, Perek Lamentes, Pasuk Chavtes, Rashi says, what do you mean he came back? Rashi says, the day that they sold him, he wasn't there. Where was he? Serving his father. That means every single day somebody else, they took turns, they had shifts. Today you taking care of daddy, tomorrow you're carrying. 12 tribes, everyone has to take care of daddy. Everybody has to be there to serve him. How many days a year? How many days in a year? Yeah, but on Shabbos and Yom Tov, you don't have to help daddy. Everybody's there. You have to take care of him on weekdays, but everybody is out of the house. So you have to take 300 days, and that's also a number that represents how many days you put on tefillin, because you don't put on tefillin Shabbos and Yom Tov. So you have 300 days divided by 12 tribes. How many days does each tribe get to take care of daddy? 300 divided by 12? 25 days per kid. Gevaldik. Yosef wasn't around for 22 years. He didn't serve his father. So how many days does he owe the system? He owes all the fathers, all the brothers. 22 years times 25 days a year that I'm supposed to serve my father. 22 times 25? 550. Wait a second. It's like hiring workers. If you're supposed to show up at the job and you're not, somebody else comes instead of you, you have to pay them. So he has to pay. But wait a second. I don't have to pay the brothers that sold me. So out of the 11 brothers, 10 I don't have to pay. If there's 550 days that he owes the system, and every brother out of the 11 has to take his place, so how many days per brother? 550 divided by 11? 50. 50 times 11, right? 550. So every brother I have to pay 50 days. I'm not going to pay 10 brothers that sold me because they caused it to themselves to start working extra. If I need to pay someone, it's only Binyamin. He wasn't involved in the sale. So how many days do I have to give him? I have to compensate for 50 days that he worked extra throughout those 22 days, or 32 years. Correct? Gewaldig. The halacha is, if you make an agreement with your worker, how much you're going to pay him per day, so you have to pay according to the agreement. Pashut. But what if you didn't? You hired a person for the job, and you didn't make up ahead of time, how much is your wage? What do? You pay him a dinar kesef. Dinar is a 6 mea kesef. 6 maos. In other words, 6 coins of silver. Oh, if I have to pay 6 coins silver per day, 6 times 50 days that I owe Binyamin, 6 times 50 is 300, and therefore he gave him 300 silver. You need dessert? Gewaltig. Ostov Rebbe. Or, comes the Chizkuni, and many after the Chizkuni say the same thing, without seeing the Chizkuni, because they thought about it on their own. We said Binyamin was not a part of the sale. The other brothers that did sell him, we have to penalize them. There's a Gemara in Gittin Mem Daled Amud Aleph. If somebody sells a person to be a slave by a goy, you have to penalize him. How much do you penalize him? 10 times the amount of his worth, the worth of the Eved. How much is an Eved worth? A pasuk in Parshas Mishpatim? Kesef, shloishim shkalim, yiten la'adoinav. Shloishim shkalim, they saw the worth of the value of the Eved. Times 10 is 300, so I have to penalize all the brothers 300 each. Binyamin didn't sell me. So I really wanted to give them 300. I'm not. They have to be penalized, as if Beis Din comes and takes the 300 out of each one of them. But not Binyamin. Binyamin was part of the sale, so he can get 300 kesef, and that's why Yosef gives Dafka Binyamin, only Binyamin, and he doesn't give the other brothers. He also gives them, though, 5 new suits. Why 5 suits? Says the Chizkuni. 1, for the fact that Binyamin had to tear his suit, as the pasuk says, that when they found the goblet in the sack of Binyamin, they all tore their clothes. I caused you to tear your suit. Here's one. The second one, because you're my brother from the same mother. The third one, because I accused you of being a ganav. What busha, what embarrassment. You know what, here, take another suit for that. And another 2, we already have 3, another 2, because as a ganav you have to pay kefil. So because as if I caused you to be obligated to pay kefil, here's another kefil, 2 suits. Lemaise, all 5 suits together. The Chizkuni and the Panach Raza. The Panach Raza is one of the Baalei HaTosfos. So the Rishonim. So they ask, Lemaise, why did he give them suits? Why not a new car? Maybe a laptop? Why suits? Are they missing clothes? Did they come with ripped clothes? Oh, look, you guys look terrible. Why don't you get a new suit? Why did they Dafka give them suits? And the Chizkuni and the Panach Raza explained, because he caused them to tear their shirts. When they heard, the gavia, the goblet is in Binyamin's side, it's terrible. Mimele, I caused you to tear your shirt, I'm going to give you a new shirt instead. That's why the pasuk says, chalifos. In Hebrew today, khalifa is a suit, but that's not what it means. Chalifos is from language of khalife. Switcheroo. I caused you to tear your shirt, here's another shirt instead. Based on that, Reuven killed Shimon. Reuven now is doing tshuva. Baruch Hashem. He comes and he asks the rabbi, when I killed Shimon, his kids said shiva. When they said shiva, they all tore kriya. Do I have to pay Shimon's sons the value of the garment that they tore? You see, Yosef is paying the brothers because I caused you to tear your shirt, I'm going to pay you another shirt. If a person kills another person, and because of that, his kids sitting shiva, and they took kriya, does he have to pay them the value of their shirt? Is this one of the ways of doing tshuva? An ultimate tikkun. Rabbi Yisai, Dayani Mumchim, what do you say? You don't like it. Why not? So explain Yosef. What was Yosef doing? Just being a nice guy? Derech Hasidus, tshuva, what was he doing? Get him a laptop. Why are you getting him a shirt? I caused you to rip the shirt, I'm going to give you a new one. So the Rotzeach, the murderer, says the same thing. I caused you to rip your shirt. Here's the shirt instead.
There's a few differences.
And they are?
One is that here in Reuben killing Shimon, it was Tzedek they had to tear kriya. They tore kriya. And by Yosef, it was a toast. He sort of tricked them into tearing kriya.
But they don't know. Yosef felt bad. I caused you to do this. Yosef had to make them look like ganavim? He had to do this?
Not a difference.
I don't understand the difference. Let's say the list one first.
Yeah.
Okay, second one.
That the normal way of life is that this man will pass anyways in his short.
Yeah, you're right. Look. Anyways, at one point, the father's going to die and you're going to take it. So I called you to do it a little earlier. What's the big deal? But if that's the case, let's reverse the question. Reuven killed Shimon's son. B'derech hateva, the father will never rip the shirt for his son because he's going to die before him. So do you have to pay the father for ripping his shirt sitting Shiva for his son? Nice try.
Shirt that the father ripped.
I'm sorry?
The son would yarshin the shirt that the father ripped, and then he would have to rip it anyway.
Who would want to wear a ripped shirt? He's going to throw it to the garbage.
No, but that shirt would get ripped that way. If the father would live and then be nifted, the son would yarshin the shirt and then rip it.
I think as soon as the father gets up from his shiva, he throws the shirt. There's not going to be any Yerusha there. Who keeps torn shirts?
No, I'm saying if
The father ripped because his son was sitting, he lost his son. As soon as the shiva ends, he throws away the shirt. There's no Yerusha. And if, you're saying the reverse, if he didn't kill his son, so he meant at one point he would be Yashin, the shirt. And this shirt will be torn when the father dies. And who told you he would use this shirt?
Usually in Halacha, is that the concept of grama?
You're saying this is a grama! That's what I wanted you to say. What's a grama? Indirect damage. Are you high for indirect damages? Grama ben Ezekiel, Pato! But Pato bedinei Adam, not bedinei Shamayim. And therefore I asked, if is it one of the way to rectify what we did? Not Medina, not a Beit Din will mechayiv you because Grama ben Ezekiel, Pato. But that's only bedinei Adam. If one wants to be Yotzei Yidei Shamayim, even on a grama, he should pay. But who says the grama? Isn't this a garmi? A garmi is more direct, even though it's not mamish direct, but it's a higher level than grama. And for garmi, we do obligate in Beis Din. And when one kills his friend, he knows that his kids will have to sit shiva. Isn't it closer to garmi? Big chiddush in Noida B'Yehuda. Big chiddush. No. We cannot say Kimle B'Derabba Mine, because that's when the two things happen at once. A person steals on Shabbos, and is moitzi mirishus on Shabbos, so we say, wait a second. You have to get skila for Chilul Shabbos, and you have to pay back what you stole. No! Forget about the Kimle B'Derabba Mine. Forget about the stealing. We'll just charge him for the skila. These two things happen at once. But if he violated Shabbos, and 5 minutes later he stole, we don't say, oh, let's give him the bigger of the punishment. That's only when they happen at once. The kriya happens after the father dies. So it's not shaykh here. Noida B'Yehuda, very surprising. And the Sha'ar Tshuva quotes him on Shulchan Aruch, Orach Chaim, Taf Reish Gimel Seif Kotan Aleph. Noida B'Yehuda, and I think we mentioned it last year or 2 years ago in the middle of the war. I don't remember why. A certain child that came up. Reuven is sending a shaliach for business. You're a driver? Please drive to Yerushalayim and bring me something. Go do some business for me. The shaliach embarks on his journey and something happened. Car accident, a heart attack, something. Shaliach dies. Does the Mishaleach, Reuven who sent him, has any responsibility for the fact that his shaliach died on the way? It has nothing to do with him. He gave him some money, he gave him a package, deliver it in Yerushalayim. He started driving. Half an hour later, 2 hours later, he died when he's on his way to the Shlichus. Says the Noida B'Yehuda, if you choose to give something to the orphans, it's the right thing to do. He's not obligating him, but he does say it's the right thing to do. You see, there's a level of responsibility towards the next generation, even though it's not even a grama. Garmi for sure not. It's not even a grama. What does he have to do with the fact that there's a Michigan driver, or the Shaliach himself was a Michigan driver, or a heart attack? But Lemaise, it was working on my behalf at that time. It's a pele. But you see, there is a level of responsibility. So can't we say that the same thing will apply here? You still don't like it?
What's the difference between...
Reuven killed Shimon. Shimon's son said Shiva, there is no level of responsibility. By the shaliach who went in the cab, I have nothing to do with him. I should give a nice gift to the orphans. It's the right thing to do. Here, the Torotzeach killed the other person. Killed! Intentionally. Or unintentionally, but he killed him directly. He doesn't have any responsibility towards the kids. He caused them to tear the shirts. It's a noide biyuda. Shari tshuva l'orach chaim. You don't like it?
It's good.
It's good, it's good. I don't like it actually. Why? And I think you touched a little. You hinted to it. When the brothers took Kriyah, why did they do it? Out of busha. They were so embarrassed, and then the Medrash says, they were even more embarrassed to walk around with torn clothes. Oh, boy, were they embarrassed. So Yosef feels terrible for them. I caused you embarrassment? I think I should want to pay you. When the kid's sitting Shiva, tearing, or the father sitting Shiva for his son, why is he doing it? The mitzvah! It's a mitzvah to catch. So I want to compensate you when I cause you a loss. That's Yosef to the brothers. I didn't cause you a loss. You think you lose when you're doing mitzvahs? Now, we don't recommend this. Chas v'shalom, this person should do this in order to gain mitzvahs for other people. No. But after the fact, it comes out that when he did tear, he did a mitzvah. If you're involved in a mitzvah, there's no loss. If there's no loss, I don't have to pay your shirt. So Lichoi doesn't have to pay. Yosef sends the brothers away. Vayomer alehem al tirgezu badarech. One of the opinions brought in Tanis Daf Yud Amud Beis. What does it mean when he says to them al tirgezu badarech? It means Yosef told them, don't take long strides. Al tifsu psi agasa. Why? Because what does taking long strides do to your eyesight? It takes away 1 of 500. Echad mechamesh me'ot of one's eyesight. The Gemara in Brachos Mem Gimel Amud Beis, which we quoted from before, the same page, the same Gemara. The Gemara says it's a gnai to Talmid Chochem. It's disgraceful to Talmid Chochem to take long strides. It takes away one's eyesight. Why is it a gnai to Talmid Chochem more so than anybody else? You want to keep your eyes, and Talmid Chochem also wants to keep his eyes. So, but Talmid Chochem, when he takes long strides, it's a dvar gnai. It's not becoming of you. Why not? What's the connection? What's the difference? The higher level that we require from Talmid Chochem more so than regular people? Different answers. The Ben Yoyada, the Ben Ishchai, over there, Brachos Mem Gimel, he explains 2 ways. Really, V'nishmartem me'od nafsho yisechem applies to both regular people, ignoramuses, and Talmid Chochamim. But there's an extra measure for Talmid Chochem to be careful here. Because the Pasuk says in Parshat Mishpatim and in Shoftim, what happens to a dayan that takes bribe? Hashochad Ye'aver. It makes the person blind. So if this guy is going to lose his eyesight because he takes long strides, that's what it does, the Gemara says. What are people going to start saying about him? You know why he lost his eyesight. The guy said, people come to him, we know. And even if he's not a dayan kavua, it has to be that once he had some kind of a din Torah, and people will suspect him, and therefore that's a dvar gnai. In other words, says the Ben Ishchai, on top of the bodily damage, you're going to lose your eyesight, there's also going to be a dvar gnai if a person is Talmid Chochem, because people are going to be talking about you. The other explanation says the Ben Ishchai, that Talmid Chochem must make sure to maintain good eyesight, because there's many halachic instructions that he has to give that are dependent on the eyes. Treifus, shrita, seeing the blood of a woman, esrog, you're going to see really well. So what happens if you lose your eyesight and people come to you, especially those people who used to come to you last year, and you know how to pass and say, I'm so sorry, no, I can't answer you. What happened? No, I don't see what. Oh, you don't see what? Okay, fine. It's a dvar gnai. It's a dvar gnai, and therefore Talmid Chochem should be careful more so than other people. The Rif, who's the Rif? No, that's the Rif on the Gemara. Who's the other Rif on Divrei Agada? The In Yaakov. That's the Rif of Yoshiyahu Pinto. Maybe 450, something that years ago. He's not the Rif from the Gemara. And he explains in 2 different ways. It's true that if you take long strides, you may lose your eyesight. But there's a refuah for it. The Gemara over there, the Shabbos Kuf Yudalad Amdalefim, Brachos Mem Gimel says, how do you fix it? You look at the wine. When you do Kiddush Friday night, and some suggest Havdalah as well, and it fixes your eyesight. So what's the problem? Says the Rif, it's not right for Talmid Chochem to put himself in danger and then go looking for the refuah. Ha-chacham einav beroishoy. The chacham looks forward into the future, and if you know some activity is dangerous, even though potentially there is a refuah for it, why would you do that? It's not right for Talmid Chochem to conduct himself this way. Second of all, he adds and he says, it's true that lemaise it fixes the Kiddush. But when the Talmid Chochem loses eyesight and he's going to do Kiddush, what do you think he's going to be thinking about? The Kiddush of Shabbos, Kodesh Baruch Hu, sanctity, Amavdil men Kodesh Lecho, Kitchanu. He's going to be thinking, I hope this works. In Mitzvah Shabbos, I'll be able to see better. It's not right. Meimele, we want you to have the ultimate kavana. Stay away from long strides. When you do Kiddush and Havdalah, you'll be able to have kavana. Another fifth answer. Lemaise lahalacha, the poskim don't bring this. That one is not allowed to take long strides. And therefore, you see people running to the bank before it closes, running to the bus not to miss it. People do it. So if it's not sakana lemaise, what is left? A dvar gnai for Talmid Chochem. That's why Chazal say it's a dvar gnai for Talmid Chochem. What's the midah keneged midah? In that if one takes long strides, lemaise he may endanger his eyesight. What's the connection to eyesight and long strides? Comes the Keren Ora, and he explains, why does a person take long strides? Where's he rushing to? He wants to get and grab those things that his eyes saw. He wants to get them quickly, so he takes big strides. So you know what? Because of that, you're going to lose your eyesight. So how can Shabbos fix it? Because what does the pasuk say about Shabbos? Shvu ish tachtav al yetze ish mim koimo. On Shabbos, you sit in your place. You don't run after your eyes. If you do that correctly, Shabbos comes and fixes one's eyesight. So finally,
just a few comments. First of all, I heard that one of the ways you replenish the eyesight by looking at the Nerot 250, Shom Bezach of 500 connected. Also, when one loses 500, is it 500 every time?
Yeah. The Gemara asks, so 500 times, I take long strides, 500 strides, and it's over. No, it's 500 of what's left. Similar to Gemara Nedarim, Lamedtes, Mem, will also give people who are sick. And the Gemara says one who goes to visit the sick takes 1/60th of the disease. So the Gemara says, so let 60 people come and visit the sick, and it's over. It's 1/60th of what's left. So you need a little more than...
That's huge. It doesn't become blind. I'm saying it's a very, very negligible amount of eyesight.
Who told you? Maybe it depends on the length of the stride. I don't know. He can lose his eyesight. To what degree? Don't know. Maybe he does things to counter it and he's going to gain more eyesight. Don't know.
In the Gemara and Barakah, we just learned in Kimasekta, in Kafvav maybe, it says that he used to go to Shul, he used to run, and he just seen...
Dvar mitzvah you're allowed to. Dvar mitzvah you're allowed to. Shabbos you're not allowed to run. Forget about long strides. You're not allowed to run. But running to Shul and Shabbos you're allowed to. For Dvar mitzvah, one is allowed to run. Finally, after 22 years, Yaakov is united with his son. Gevaldik, what's Simcha? Comes the Ostov Tzerebe again and says, look how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world in a measure for measure, midah keneged midah fashion, and how exact and precise HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. 22 years are keneged, that 22 years Yaakov didn't serve his father. Where was he? By Lavan, he wasn't with his father. So now Yosef is taken away from him for 22 years and he can't save him. But within the 22 years, this is already Rashi brings it. But within the 22 years, it's so exact. So he brings Rashi. Rashi says 22 years that Yosef was in Mitzrayim without Yaakov, corresponding to the 22 years that Yaakov didn't fulfill Kibud Avaim, 20 years that he was in the house of Lavan, and 2 years when he is traveling from Lavan back to his home. So says the Ostov in Or Torah, those 22, let's break them up. There's 7 years, the first 7 years that he worked for Lavan in order to have a wife. That's with Rashus. Didn't his mother say to him, listen, V'yashavta imo yamim achadim. Go to Lavan, get a wife, sit until you yamim achadim. And how much did he work? Yamim achadim. These days, these years seem to him like a few days. So this is the same yamim achadim, which means he had permission to be in the house of Lavan. He didn't fulfill the mitzvah kibudav, but he didn't transgress anything. Then comes 13 years that he stays more by Lavan, and that's lichora without the shus. So not only does he not fulfill kibudav, he's wrong to be here. The first 7 years he's not fulfilling, but he's okay to be here because his mother sent him. The next 13 years, he's even wrong to be here, and he's not fulfilling the mitzvah kibudav. The last 2 years, we have already 20. The last 2 years, he is longing to go back to be with his father to serve him, as the pasuk says. Lavan says to him, "V'ata haloch halachta ki nichsof nichsafta lebeis avicha," because you yearn so much to go back. So those 2 years obviously are measured differently. Says Yosef, look what happened to Yosef. Mamish unbelievable. 13 years Yosef was betzar. He came at the age of 17, all the way to the age of 30 when he stands in front of a paro. He was a slave. He sat in jail. That's 13 years. Keneged the 13 years that Yaakov didn't have permission to stay in the house of Lavan. 7 years, he was still away from him, but as a king, that corresponds to the 7 years that Yaakov had permission to be with Laban. But Lemaise, he didn't fulfill Kibudav, but at least he's not suffering. And the 2 years is when Yaakov heard, Ki yesh shever b'Mitzrayim, and Yosef is there, and he really was dying to see him. The Medrash says, in Birkat Rabbi Eliezer Perek Tzadi Aleph, that he had such a yearning to see Yosef for 2 years, corresponding to the 2 years that he had a yearning to go back to see his father, because, well, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, all my measures are midah keneged midah. It's exact. It's so precise. Ves Yehuda shalach lefanav el Yosef. Yaakov sends Yehuda first, lehoiros lefanav goishna. Rashi says, what does it mean, lehoiros? To open up a best medrash. You don't go to a place if there's no best medrash. If there's no shul, you don't go there. Since this best medrash shul is mentioned, it gives us a chance to ask a question. I think it's a very common question. Lemaise. Reuven davens Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in Shul A. Shabbos Yontef he davens in Shul B. I think many people, maybe even people sitting here, Mamish applies to them, right? Weekdays you daven in one shul, Shabbos you daven in a different. Now both shuls are having a campaign. They need your money. They're building a new shul, renovations, whatever it is. Shul campaign A and shul campaign B want your money. You can only give to one shul. Maybe there's some Gabai here that need to know this. You can only give to one shul. Which shul should you prefer? The weekday shul or the Shabbos shul? You're saying Shabbos, and you think we're going to take money in somebody's pocket without giving a raya? Just because it's Shabbos, you got to give me substantiated. Give me some documentation, something.
So on the school, on the Chadarim application, they ask you, where do you daven on Shabbos?
Mistama, because they realize there's no kvius for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. One day you're here, one day you're there. But let's say you always daven weekdays in one shul, and you do have kvius. And Shabbos you daven in a different one. Whom should you give the money to? Can only give to one.
The shul that you learn during the week.
I don't learn shul. Learn at home with a chavusa, I learn a best medrash, a different one than the shul. Talking about davening.
Where are your membership?
What's that?
Where are your membership?
In both.
Both, we pay both.
In both or neither.
Prepare both?
There's no membership. In both shuls they don't ask for membership. But they do need your money now for a campaign. They're building the place, renovations. Very applicable.
Shabbos.
What's that? Shabbos. Why? And you think, as you're a gabba, you come to me and say, I think you should give to us because you come here Shabbos. I say, tell me why. And therefore, I'm going to keep Shabbos, everything, and Mitzvah Hashem, I'm going to have bracha. But you say giving money to a shul that I daven and that provides a bracha? Maybe you have to add a parenthesis in Lech Hadoidi and add that as well.
Is there an opinion that says where you learn Friday morning?
I don't learn the whole week in a shul. I learn somewhere else. I daven in shul A, weekdays. I daven in shul B, Shabbos Yom Tov. What do you say, everybody saying?
Campaign.
What's that? Oh, how many times do I daven on weekdays? 18 and only 3 times on Shabbos. Tadir v'sheino tadir. Tadir koidem. Is it tadir? Let's see. Unbelievable pri megadim. Unbelievably brings the Ramban. The Ramban on the Torah and Parashas Emor on the words Mikra'ei Kodesh says it's a mitzvah to daven in a shul midirabanan. But it's a mitzvah d'oraisa on Yom Tov to come to shul, to gather and to praise the Bnei Shalom. That's the language of the Ramban. So Shabbos, you have Kedusha. And maybe Shabbos also is Kovea. Just like Shabbos is Kovea from Maaseh, Shabbos is more of a Kvius. And that's why they ask you on the resume, where you ask, where do you daven on Shabbos? Maybe that's it's Kovea. But you do have Tadir. What do you do when you have a problem called Tadir? Tadir, Sheinu Tadir, Tadir comes first. Something which is frequent comes first before something which is infrequent. But when you have something which is more Mikudash, when a Tadir and a Mikudash are clashing, what do? You go to Zvachim Tzadi Amud Beis, and the Gemara says, unresolved, do whatever you want. The Rambam Paskins LaHalacha. When you have an issue of Tadir and Mikudash, you pick. Lechoira, you pick. Mekudash, Shabbos. But Tadir also have some it's a heavy weight, and therefore you can pick whatever you want. That's the Rambam decrees lahalacha. Licheira, the right thing to do is to split the money, to give both. If you can't, so 1 month give only to this shul, the next month give to the other.
Does Tadir B'Klal work here as a rabbi?
Why not?
I mean,
think about...
I come visit this place 18 times during the week.
But here we're saying do it instead of this. Usually Tadir is before. Here we're not saying give them the donation before.
Good. So if I can only give to one, I prioritize the Tadir and I gave, now I'm stuck. I can't give the Sheinu Tadir.
Okay.
It's a technical thing. Once I was able to give Tadir because I'm supposed to, I'm left with no money, so Lemaisa, Sheinu Tadir suffers. But what can I do?
Okay, well, we don't say that regarding Hanukkah, do we? Hanukkah lights, right? Hanukkah lights are Mara. Which comes first? Mara, right?
Depends.
What?
Depends.
So if it's like...
That's what the Mishnah Bura wants you to light at a certain time. The Mishnah Bura wants you to light at a certain time before Mariv comes. And therefore you don't run into the problem of Tadir. So make sure you light before. If you go into the time that you already can daven, says the Mishnah Bura, Mariv comes first because it's Tadir. So Ashkenazim, not as far, Ashkenazim will light, most of them, 5 minutes before, 10 minutes after Shkia, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes before it says, before I can daven Mariv, in order not to run into this problem. Because Tadir, and they're both on level D'Rabbanan. But here we have an issue of Tadir and Mekudash.
That's the minhag of Yerushalayim.
What is?
What you just said.
No. It's a minhag of those poskim in Yerushalayim. Some poskim hold differently. Every posik is different than Chanukah. It's not a minhag of the place. It's a minhag of your Rav or whoever Shita you follow.
What if without your full money, one of the two is gonna close?
That's a consideration.
I mean, so you have to split. If you split, it doesn't help anything.
No, that's a new consideration. We're just showing Tadir and Mekudash. You're saying something else. If it wasn't for you, the place is going to close down.
So which one to prioritize?
The one that's going to close will forget about the Mekudash, will forget about Tadir.
No, both of them. Both of them.
Both of them will close. So then we go back.
Your money, they close.
So if I can only give to one, our question comes back and we ignore this consideration and we're back to Tadir and Mekudash and whoever you prioritize. Whoever, depends which Gabbai gives you more aliyos throughout the week. Pashut. Yosef is getting ready to meet his father Yankiv, and Baruch Hashem, they finally do meet. And Yosef is running towards Yaakov, and Yaakov says, "No, stop! Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem." Oh, Yosef, Shalom Aleichem. The ultimate in Ahavas Hashem. There's nothing like it. Really, what Yaakov wants to do is to run like Michigan, hug and kiss him like there's no tomorrow. 22 years I was waiting for this. But he realizes there's something bigger than that. And that's called HaKodesh Baruch Hu. And from him, I have everything that I have. And I have to say thank you to Ribono Shel Olam and Miyached Yehudim and Mekaven Kavanos, Kriya Shema, Ahavas Hashem on the highest level. How do we get there? The Talmud Eliyahu says, Chayav Adam lo yimar. One must say, Masai yagiu maisai lemaisai avoisai avo mitzvah v'Yaakov. When will my deeds reach those of my forefathers? I want to have that Ahavas Hashem. How does one reach Ahavas Hashem? I think it's a $1 million question that is on everyone's mind, and if it's not, it must be. And we have to try and progress and become better at this and have stronger and more intense love to Ribono Shel Olam. How? So there are a few ways. Sefer HaChinuch in Mitzvah Taf Yud Ches, on the Pasuk Ve'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha says, it says, Ve'ahavta, you're commanding me, you shall love. But I still don't know how. Ein yodea keitzad oyev adam es hamakom. How do you do it? Talmud lo yimar, ve'hayu hadvarim asher anoichi metzavecha hayom al levavecha, says in Sefer HaChinuch, go and learn Torah. She'im ha'isboinenus b'Torah, when you learn Torah, tisyashev ha'ahava balev behechriach. No matter what, you're going to fall in love with the Ribono Shel Olam. Great. What if I'm a woman? Doesn't apply to me. What if I can't sit and learn too much? I don't know, he's a doctor, he's performing surgery after surgery after surgery after surgery. He's doing great chesed, but he can't. Sefer HaChinuch provides the path called learning Torah. Comes the Rambam, he says, I have a different one. Hilchos Yisodi HaTorah, Perek Beis, Halacha Beis, says the Rambam, B'shah sheyisboinen ha'adam b'maisav, u'b'ruach ha'niflaim ha'gedolim, and he will see the unbelievable wisdom of Ribono Shel Olam, שאין לה ערך ולא קץ, infinite wisdom. מיד הוא אויב ומשבח ומפאר. Immediately he's going to love Ribono Shel Olam. He's going to praise Ribono Shel Olam. And he's going to have this unyielding desire to know HaKodesh Baruch Hu. By the way, many people misinterpret this Rambam. And they think the Rambam here was either a travel agent or worked for a travel agent. And this Rambam says, you must go travel! Go to the Everest! Go to the Grand Canyon! That's not what the Rambam says. You don't have to travel. The Rambam doesn't say you have to see spectacular things. He says, Bruav, look at each other. Uvemaisav. Open the window every single morning and say, wow, I see sunrise, I see the shkia, I see mountains, I see whatever I have in front of me. That's a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Maybe if you happen to go to the Grand Canyon, you'll see him again in a different place, a different way. Wow. But there's no mitzvah to go there. And if you go, get Aldik, you'll enjoy it. Okay, so this is very important because I think many people think that the Rambam had some stocks in a travel agency. I don't know. So we have learning Torah. We have, I don't want to say traveling, because what if a person doesn't like to travel? He doesn't have shutters. He's close to a place he can't look out. A third way. It's pashut. If your neighbor, that you're not crazy about, started giving you $1,000 every single day, will you not love him? He doesn't owe you anything. And every morning he comes knocking on your door, he's 1,000. What if he gave you 2,000? Every single day. Doesn't miss a day, only Shabbos, because most of Shabbos. Of course I'm going to love him. Yeah, but he's kind of nasty. He gives me $2,000. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you much more. Every single day. Even though maybe yesterday we took some long strides. Our eyesight is still here. Digestive system. Shoulders are working. Knees are bending. Our brain. Our wife, kids, house, car, whatever a person has. A gift from Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't owe us anything. If you view it as $1 million every single day, you're going to love him. A person comes to you and says, I just acquired this unbelievable sensor. It's a love gauge. You see this guy over there? Love him in the next 30 days more so than you love him now. If you do, I'm going to give you $1 million. Do you think you're going to find a way to love Rebbeinu Shalom? Avade! So you go over and you start talking to him. What do you do? Where you're from? Find something in common. And you don't. You don't. He's also kind of rough on the edges and he's kind of nasty. But $1 million are waiting for you. Are you going to find a way to focus only on his good character traits? Avade! You're going to ignore everything and he's going to say, he had a reason. Different background. You're going to convince yourself. And what if after 30 days, they find that, in fact, you love him just a drop more, you get $1 million. The guy comes to you and says, listen, you have another 30 days. If you find a way to love him a drop more, you're going to get $2 million. Will you find a way? Pasha said yes. That's Rebbeinu Shalom. Everything you have is from him, and he's the one going to shower you with more than $2 million. So if we think that we're going to find love to Rebbeinu Shalom. But, Anu Chidish. And that's the reason I brought this. A fourth way. Michtav Eliyahu says a remarkable thing. We tend to think that giving is a product of love. When I love someone, so I give him gifts. Giving is a product of love. Comes a Michtav Eliyahu and says, you're wrong. Giving yields love. He says, I'll prove it to you. Mistama, this doesn't apply here. But you should know, out there, some kids, sometimes, don't always listen to their parents. I know, it's a chiddush, you never heard of it. You should know. Some kids don't always listen to their parents. You never heard of this, right? I know. And what does the parent do? He continues showering them with more and more and more gifts. Why? He doesn't listen to you. The more you give, the more you find love. When the father stops giving, love will cease as well, or it will diminish. Says the Michtav Eliyahu, look at your children. Look at a person who built a building, arts, whatever he created. When you create something, when you plant, he discusses trees and plants, he discusses buildings. When you create something, because you gave from yourself, you find love. And he says, if you don't believe me, try it. Which means, if your wife said something nasty, she upset you, go buy her a gift. You want to find love. Give and you will find love. Giving yields love. It's not that giving is a product of love. It's the opposite. If the wife is upset and her husband, let her bake him a cake. Nobody wants to fight. Just how do we end it? How do I re-love him again? No problem. Give gifts and you will find love. He says, try it on people and you see that suddenly everybody becomes your relatives. You love people. That's the Michtav Eliyahu says. The Lev Eliyahu, Rebbe Lapian used to always say, the root of the word ahava, love, is have, which means to give. You want to love someone? Give. Give. You're going to find love. Many times you see a Baal Tshuva. You see a ger, a convert, how they daven, and it's awe-inspiring. It's like, wow, look at that fire! And I'm not talking about the first week. The first year they're in the business. 20 years later. Much more fire than a boring FFB who grew up with davening. Where is that fire coming from? How do they have to maintain it? I think the answer is very simple, based on this Michtav Eliyahu, based on the Lev Eliyahu, the Ber Lapian. What the convert and Baal Tshuva had to do is to give, to sacrifice so much more than an FFB. They have to sacrifice their family ties many times, their friends, their surroundings, sometimes their jobs. The tirha, the burden, the money. Suddenly in the middle of life, go spend money for a tefillin. Go change your wardrobe if you're a woman. Go change all the pots and pans and all the dishes and everything. You know how much money that is? What an expense. And everybody looks at him, what happened to you? Ugh, you became one of them. What a sacrifice. But since when you give, you find love, the Baal Tshuva, the convert, gave on the highest level. So Mimele, they have the highest level of love towards the Rebbeinu Shalom, more so than an FFB who doesn't have to sacrifice. He grew up with these concepts. So I don't drive on Shabbos to the beach while eating shrimps. Big deal. It's not even a challenge. Before a Baal Tshuva and a ger, it's an unbelievable challenge. It's a major sacrifice. Oh, you sacrifice? You're going to find love. Good. Brachos Nun Dalet Amud Aleph. The Gemara dashens the pasuk, Ve'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. B'chol levavcha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha. What is b'chol levavcha? 2 hearts. Yetzer tov, yetzer hara. B'chol nafshecha, even if he takes your soul away, mesirus nefesh. B'chol me'odecha, even if you have to spend all your money. We normally understand this pasuk to mean, Ve'ahavta, you should love. I'll tell you how to apply it. You have to be willing to sacrifice everything. I think this pasuk not only is saying what the Gemara says, but there's a remez here, how to find the Avas Hashem. The pasuk is asking a question. Ve'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha? Question mark. Do you want to find love? I'll tell you how. B'chol levavcha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha. If you're willing to sacrifice everything you have, if you're willing to give your Rebbeinu Shalom everything, like that Baal Tshuva, like that convert, you will find love. It's an instruction. It's a guide. How to find love. It's obviously what the Gemara says as well. It's the application of how to love. You must be willing to sacrifice. But it's also a directive. You really want to find it? I'll tell you how. Be willing to separate from everything you have. Levavcha, nafshecha, die for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you're willing to do that, you're going to find, a very, very intense love. And this theme continues. This is Parshas Vayischanan. One parsha later in Vayikev. Ve'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. Don't read it. V'shama'ota mishma'ota v'chukoisav u'mishpatav u'mitzvoisav kol hayamim. It's a question mark. Are you asking me Ve'ahavta Hashem Elokecha how to arrive there? I'll tell you. Keep everything that he tells you. V'shama'ota mishma'ota chukav mishpatav u'mitzvoisav, because it's going to cost you a lot of money. The mitzvahs, the chukim, the mishpatim, put them together, keep everything. You know how expensive that is? What a sacrifice. You have to refrain from so many things that you would like to do. You sacrifice it, says the Kodesh Baruch Hu, you're going to find love. When you sacrifice on the highest level, you're going to find the highest level to Rebuking Shalom. So we just have to reprogram ourselves. We're not going through the motions and doing what they're telling us. We're wanting to sacrifice everything, to give everything to Rebuking Shalom, because we want to find love to Rebuking Shalom, and we will. Last thing, riddle of the day. Is there a pasuk in our parsha that appears, the whole pasuk, Agadah Shel Pesach? A whole pasuk in our parsha that appears in Agadah Shel Pesach. Shnai mikavecha targum. Who did Shnai mikavecha targum? Any pasuk that appears in our parsha, Agadah, but the whole pasuk, not 1 word or 2 words. Vayomer. I know Vayomer appears in also HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A whole pasuk in Agadah Shel Pesach. The answer is yes. Bereshis Mem Zayin Pasuk Dalet. The pasuk says it's right after Vehi She'amda in the next paragraph. Vayomru el Paro lagu ba'aretz banu ki en mireh latzon asher la'avadecha ki chaved harav be'eretz Knan ve'ata yeshvu na'avadecha be'eretz Goshen. Good Shabbos, Rabbi Isai.